going.
Yeah. Okay, hello, and thank you for coming to my presentation today. Today I'm going to be talking about fine print and the applications and lessons that we can learn from it today in the 21st century. My name is Christopher Webb, and this is for Business Communications Quarter 1. Okay, so I need to introduce my topic a little bit. I chose fine print because I think it's a really interesting topic, and because fine print is popping up all around us. Everywhere I go, I seem to find fine print. On the internet, there's fine print whenever you get a new account with a new service, or whenever you fill out a contract and you have to agree to the terms and services. I would consider that all to be fine print. Also, whenever you visit any kind of fun place like a swimming pool or a rock climbing wall, or if you went to some type of a jumping place like Jump On It or Lowe's Extreme Air Sports, you usually have to sign waivers there that contain a lot of fine print in them. And so I chose fine print because I think it's really interesting and it's really applicable today because we're finding it all around us. Here we go. Let's see. So, like I said, fine print appears all over. One huge place that we see it a lot is the internet. Even sometimes just to enter websites, you have to agree to some terms and services. You have to click I agree, and by agreeing, I'm at least 16 years or 18 years or older. Stuff like that. Also, any kind of waiver that you sign, any kind of legal document, those usually have a lot of fine print. And that's those tiny little words that are usually written in what we call legalese, that boring kind of gibberish that nobody likes to read. And then also any kind of legal agreement or recreational facility. I included Jump On It up here because my brother recently was at Jump On It and he broke his ankle and he had to sign a waiver. And of course, it becomes your fault because you read that fine print. Even if you don't read that fine print, you agreed to it. And so we found out that, they're not going to pay for anything at the hospital, that you have to pay for all that. X-ray included. Okay, so when you're doing research, it's always a good thing to define your terms, so I'm going to define what fine print is to me in this context. I defined it as something, some kind of text containing 500 words or more, and all fine print contains way over that. They all exceed that. They go like over 10,000 words. And then also needs to contain some type of binding agreement statement like I agree to the terms and services as outlined in the following or as here presently constituted, stuff like that. You need to somehow be agreeing to something. It's not just a bunch of small text like in the Bible. It needs to be something where you're agreeing to something. And then it needs to be some kind of legal contract. It needs to be able to be upheld in a court of law. Because that's really important, and that's really why you're signing it, for litigious reasons. Okay, so when you're doing research, it's good to do some pre-research. So I did my literature review. Just wanted to see if anybody had done any kind of research like this. And there had been some research done. I found on Forbes magazine's website a really interesting article about fine print, and it said that less than 0.11% of all people actually read the terms and services when they press that button that says I agree. And then a follow-up question to that, or a follow-up statement, is that of the people that click on it, that 0.11%, the average amount of time spent on the terms and services, which are usually pages and pages long, is 29 seconds. So even of that less than 0.11%, the average time spent is about 29 seconds. So most of those people aren't taking the time to actually read it. So that means that close to 0% of all people read the fine print, which is a little bit scary. So I decided to do some research and triangulate my secondary source findings with some primary source findings. So my primary source research comes from my own research. I set up my own survey on SurveyMonkey and did some research. And then also some conversations with Dr. Webb, who lives in my neighborhood, and he has a PhD from University of California, Los Angeles. So I was really awesome to be able to talk to him. And my secondary sources were obviously that Forbes magazine article and the NPR radio article that I found, which was really cool. And it's entitled A Closer Look at Your Bills, Fine Print. And that kind of just examined some of the problems that we're having with fine print in today's age. So the survey. So what I did was I created kind of a two-part survey. And so the first page, what it did was it had a basic question. It was like, what color comes to mind when you think of the word joy? And it had like 9 options in color order: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, maybe white at the bottom. And then at the bottom it said other, and there was a box where you could type something in, and it said please specify. And so a lot of people just answered those questions. I mean, everybody answered that question, obviously, because that was the first question. And then there was a little button at the bottom that said next. So you click on the next button, and you get to a page, and it has a bunch of fine print on it. Just boring, more than 500 words, really tiny. And what I did was I hid a little nugget in that fine print that said, if you're reading this right now, please go back and change your answer to fine print on the previous page, from the color answer on that little other please specify box. And so it was really interesting to see what happened. But yeah, the basic idea was that the closer readers and those who would usually read fine print would be able to find that message and be able to go back and change their answer, and that would demonstrate to me the amount or relative amount of people that would generally read fine print. Obviously there's going to be some percent error, but it was pretty awesome. I got a sample size of about 80 people, and I'll tell you my results in a second. So this is the page. This is what it looks like, and it says, which color comes to mind when you think of the word joy? And I have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, black, white, other, please specify, and then there's that other box. And then right down here is the next button, and so you could click on next, and it would take you to this screen which says, please read the following before submitting your survey. By clicking done, you agree to the following statement and are bound to stand in accordance with said litigation. And then it said a bunch of stuff like legal prohibitions in the United States, U.S. FTC regulations, the unfair or deceptive acts or practices. So I just typed a bunch of stuff that has to do with actual fine print, so it's kind of an oxymoron, which is funny. And then down here it says, if you are reading this, please return to first page and change your answer to fine print in the other please specify box. Okay, and so then here are my results. These are just the color results that weren't actually the bulk of my survey, but this box right here represents yellow. There were about 39 people that answered yellow, because yellow is the universal color for happiness and joy. Next was red, white, then green, blue, orange, purple, black. I was surprised that anybody actually answered black, because black is like the opposite of happiness, but still very interesting findings. And then these are the please specify answers. So I had 6 people type in fine print out of 80, which comes out to a little bit less than 8%. And I also got some other answers: blue and yellow, chartreuse, sky blue, poo green, which is awesome. And so yeah, and then somebody else wrote this, I'll read this. It says, fine print, Julio. Told you, my parents always read fine print, and they make me read it too. P.S. Your case you cited, Harris versus Blockbuster, is from a Texas District Court, not the Supreme Court, so it only establishes a precedent. It doesn't actually have direct authority nationwide. Anyways, did you pull those statistics yourself? My vote on the original question is still red. Good work. So, that's pretty interesting. I'm doing it again. Please leave. Thank you. Okay, and then so when you're doing research, another important thing to consider is researcher stance and bias. And so I didn't have a lot of bias with this, and it didn't play a big role because it's a survey, but I did have a bias because I was doing this project. I wanted to see the results. I wanted to see these results. I wanted to have not very many people read it, so I might have made it harder than it needed to be, or obviously that played a role. My stance, same thing. And then I don't think it skewed the results in my survey at all. And then I just included this illustration because I think it's awesome. So then when you're doing research, I think there should be a point. And so what it means, first, I think people are lazy. And especially in today's world that's full of technology and so many awesome things to do, obviously reading fine print isn't going to be people's first priority. But I think that it is important, as has been demonstrated, to read the fine print, because companies and people are capable of including things in there, little riders as they would call them in Congress, that can make your life difficult. Second, I think fine print just isn't read. That's what my findings really pointed to, that people don't read the fine print. Third, I put that companies have a potent weapon, and technically when you agree to those terms and services, you are agreeing that you read that entire thing. And so if they put something in there, a little wild zany card, that's a little bit freaky, that if you didn't actually read it, you just agreed to something that you might not want to have agreed to. People are putting themselves in danger by not reading fine print, and it becomes their liability and not the company's. So it's a good idea to read the fine print. Why it matters. Reading the fine print can really help you, as I said. Can save you a lot of money and a lot of heartache. My dad actually had a little trouble with this a little while ago. He clicked on something that said like free teeth whitening kit or something, and he actually got it. He didn't have to pay. But then what they did was they had this fine print, and they had it just a tiny shade different from the color box beneath, and so you could hardly read it, and it was hidden. And it said that like you had to pay like $75 for it within 5 days, otherwise face a fee of like $200. And so he ended up having to pay a lot of money to get that fixed just because he did that. So takeaway from that, I would say, is that obviously don't click on internet advertisements because they're not usually a good idea. And then also consider a lawyer for things like that, even though it's really expensive. If things are going to add up, that might be worth your time and your money. And then also contact your companies that the fine print is for with any questions that you have, because that can save you a hassle and you can make them feel accountable. These are my sources. Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? Oh, well, when I did it with my mom earlier, she asked about medicine and how medicine plays into this, and I think it's the same thing. When you buy medicine, there's a lot of fine print that comes with the side effects. I think with medicine, that's more for them to save them from being sued, because there are a lot of things that can go wrong with medicine, but it's the same kind of thing. And my mom always reads that fine print, and I was kind of proud of that, because, I mean, fine print is an important deal. Any other questions?
Is fine print like really important, or is it not like really important?
I think it's really important in today's world.
Cool.
Awesome.
Okay, here you go.